I want you to imagine a weapon, but it's not one forged from steel or packed with explosives. No, this weapon is made of pure information, invisible code that can zip across the globe in an instant. And here's the thing, this isn't science fiction anymore. This is the reality of modern conflict, and getting our heads around this new type of weapon is one of the biggest challenges we face today.
I mean, it sounds like something straight out of a spy movie, doesn't it? The whole idea that bits and bytes on a computer could actually leap out and cause real physical destruction in some of the most secure facilities on Earth. It's a wild thought. But what if I told you it's not a movie plot? It's already happened.
Yeah, that's not a movie tagline. That is a documented fact. It was the moment a digital weapon crossed the line from the virtual world into the physical one, and in doing so, it changed everything. It was this chilling wake-up call to the destructive power of cyber warfare. To really understand this new era, we've got to rewind the clock to 2010. We need to talk about the first publicly known digital weapon of its kind, a computer worm called Stuxnet. Now, this thing wasn't designed to steal your credit card number or your identity. It was built for one reason, and one reason only: physical destruction.
Okay, so how on earth did Stuxnet pull this off? Well, its target was an Iranian nuclear facility, and that facility was air-gapped, which is just a fancy way of saying it wasn't connected to the public internet. So the obvious question is, how did it get inside? Believe it or not, infected USB drives. Once it was in, it wasn't looking for laptops. It was hunting for very specific industrial controllers, the little brains that tell heavy machinery what to do. Stuxnet subtly messed with these controllers, causing Iran's centrifuges to spin wildly out of control, physically destroying an estimated 2,000 of them. And the craziest part? The whole time, it was telling the facility operators that everything was running perfectly normal.
And right here, this is the secret to its power. Stuxnet was just a tiny 500 kilobyte file, but it was incredibly sophisticated. It exploited not one, but 4 separate, previously unknown flaws in Microsoft Windows. Think of them like 4 secret keys that nobody knew existed. These are what we call zero-day vulnerabilities, and they are the absolute core of what we're talking about today. All right, let's fast forward a decade after Stuxnet's loud and messy sabotage. A totally new kind of attack showed just how much this digital weapon had evolved. This time, the goal wasn't destruction, but silent, widespread infiltration. This was the SolarWinds attack.
You know, this timeline is just fascinating because it shows a completely different strategy. This wasn't a direct assault. This was an act of extreme patience. So in March of 2020, attackers slipped malicious code into a routine software update for a really popular IT tool called SolarWinds Orion. When companies installed this trusted update, they had no idea they were also installing a secret backdoor. That backdoor then waited for 2 whole weeks before it even woke up. And for the next 10 months, the attackers were just ghosts, moving silently through the networks of government agencies and major corporations, stealing everything they could, all while being completely undetected.
When you put them side by side like this, you can really see the 2 different faces of the same kind of weapon. Stuxnet was like a digital missile aimed at one specific target to cause physical damage. SolarWinds, on the other hand, was a master spy that snuck into 18,000 organizations, not to break things, but just to steal secrets. One was loud, one was silent. One was targeted, the other was widespread.
So we've got 2 incredibly different attacks with totally different goals and methods. You could call one a sledgehammer and the other a scalpel. But underneath it all, they share a common, incredibly powerful secret ingredient. So what is it?
That secret is the zero-day. This is the engine that powered both Stuxnet sabotage and the SolarWinds hacker stealth. You could call it the ultimate trump card in the world of cybersecurity.
So what exactly is it? Well, a zero-day vulnerability is basically a flaw, a crack in the armor of a piece of software or hardware that nobody, not even the company that made it, knows about. The name zero-day comes from the simple fact that from the moment an attacker discovers it, the developer has had exactly 0 days to create effects. That leaves everyone who uses that product completely defenseless.
And the process is deceptively simple. First, someone, could be a government agency, a criminal, a security researcher, finds one of these secret flaws. Then, they write code, which we call an exploit, specifically designed to take advantage of that flaw, and finally, they launch it against their target. And because there's no patch for it, all the traditional defenses are often pretty useless.
Now, you might be thinking these secret flaws get discovered and fixed pretty quickly. You know, once a secret like this is out, it's out for good. But the data tells a very, very different and much more surprising story.
According to a really deep analysis of real-world zero-day exploits by the RAND Corporation,
the average life expectancy of a zero-day, so the time from when it's privately discovered to when it finally becomes public knowledge, is nearly 7 years. Just think about that for a second. A secret weapon that can stay effective for the better part of a decade.
But that average actually hides a fascinating reality. While, yeah, a quarter of these vulnerabilities get found publicly in less than a year and a half, the data shows this long tail. Another quarter of them survive for more than 9.5 years. Some of these digital secrets can live for a very, very long time.
And this brings up a really crucial question. How likely is it that your enemy will independently find the same secret weapon that you have? The RAND data calls this the collision rate, and it's surprisingly low. In any given year, there's only about a 5.7% chance that a zero-day in a government stockpile will be independently discovered and revealed by someone else. These secrets, it turns out, are pretty good at staying secret.
And all of this data leads us to this huge dilemma, right at the heart of national security and public safety. The title of the RAND report really sums it up perfectly. 0 days, thousands of nights. When a government discovers one of these powerful flaws, what should it do?
Well, on one hand, you have the argument to stockpile them. The data suggests these things have long lives and a low chance of being discovered, which makes them incredibly powerful tools for intelligence and national security. Keeping them secret means you have a strategic advantage. But on the other hand, you have the argument to disclose them. Every moment a vulnerability like that exists, millions of citizens, businesses, and critical infrastructure at risk. And some argue that any probability, no matter how small, that an adversary could find and use that same flaw is just too great a risk to public safety.
So that leaves us with this final, really challenging question. It's a delicate balance between national security and public protection, between a powerful sword and a necessary shield. In a world where wars are fought with code, what is the right choice? There's definitely no easy answer.